Dr. Denise Renson. A true fusion of the Renaissance woman and the future femme. Denise's expertise in anti-aging and regenerative functional medicine is beautifully fused with her passion for high-frequency living, consciousness expansion, and futurism. No wonder you're here. Her areas of expertise include age reversal, super longevity, philosophy, and futurism. And she is going to speak today about epigenetics, age reversal, bliss designed. Please welcome Dr. Denise Renson.
Thank you so much for having me today. I was so touched when Jim and Bernie called me up and asked me to speak this week, and I was like, oh, I would love to. I've been waiting to speak to you guys for so long. No, this morning I woke up, took a really nice stretch, and couldn't get back up. So I have a back spasm galore, and so I might be sitting down for a part of the presentation, but let's see, maybe the endorphins will kick in and we'll just rock it out. Thank you so much. A really amazing woman introduced me to this movement, Laurie Handlers. Laurie, please stand up. Thank you so much. You've changed my life. What a goddess. Thank you. And it was such an honor for me to present her as an MC. I was the MC 3 years ago at the Rad Fest. Who remembers me from back then? Oh, you all remember? Who remembers the erotic poetry I... Let me tell you the background of how that happened. So I was invited to MC the longevity piece, lifestyle piece of RadFest first. I was so honored because Jim and I got on a Skype call and we just felt it. I was so excited to speak to you, and I had no idea what you were doing, other than Laurie telling me a little bit about, but I just could feel this is right. So we had an amazing conversation, and Jim kindly allowed me to, MC that portion of the event, and it was an amazing experience. But what happened was this. I was going to do the classic emceeing, presenting the presenters and then, their bios and so on, quick. And then about 2 hours before I was meant to get on the stage, some kind of a force pulled my ear. I literally was pulled out of RadFest stage area, and I had to run back to my hotel room and pull out poems. I don't know why. I wasn't planning it, but it was meant to be. I had to do it that way. I don't know why. Now I know why, because the erotic intelligence is an integral piece of our unlimited lifespans. Without it, we cannot pull it off. So that has become even more a part of the work I do in the world, especially with women. And I will talk a lot about that today. So please enjoy it. It's all, you guys called it in. It's all your intelligence. So thank you. Today we're going to talk about epigenetics plus. Not epigenetic, regular. Epigenetics plus. And it's essentially about physical and metaphysical epigenetics of the unlimited lifespan, bliss, ecstasis, and the erotic soul of our lives. And essentially it's all about you becoming you plus. There's going to be a lot of permission given today. So let's go in. My name is Denisa. You can find out more about me at denisarenson.com. I'm pretty much an open book. Ask me anything. It's all there. My passion is in the area of bliss. I was called to do that. I had a boutique practice in Hawaii, doing classic, integrative, functional, naturopathic medicine, IVs, chelation, injections, PRP, the whole works. It was really beautiful. It was a boutique practice where women would come in and sit with me for an hour. We'd drip an IV, do an acupuncture, and dive deep into their functional medicine and so on. It was already designed really beautifully, but there was something gnawing at me. I felt like I wasn't doing medicine deeply enough. And one night in Hawaii, I walked all night on the ocean by myself in the middle of this national park. I got kind of locked in, and I was asking the heavens to tell me how I meant to do this medicine because it wasn't good enough. Hormones were not cutting it. Even the amazing consciousness conversations weren't deep enough. And from the skies in Hawaii downloaded bliss. 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 Bliss is the zenith of human physical and metaphysical experience, and that is the true medicine. So I began to, start to journey into a whole other world of creating content in the world around what is bliss, how do we embody it, how do we lock it in so that it becomes a trait, not just a state we experience in orgasm or ecstatic states and so on. And I also am I'm a dreamer, I'm a visionary, I'm a poet. My true profession is poetry. So you will see this. I kind of do medicine this way because I feel I must. I cannot do it in the classic way or I'll just shrivel away. I'm also super passionate about age reversal, super longevity, where we're all going together, immortality. And I'm writing a book, Age Reversal blissDesigned. And I run a program called U+, Age Reversal Made Beautiful. Please know that everything I talk about is just one perspective, one way of looking at it. We have so many ways. No, there are no medical claims here. This is all just poetry, so let's dive in. Any intelligent fool can make things bigger and more complex. It takes a touch of genius and a lot of courage to move in the opposite direction. Our brother, Albert. So I had a chance to spend time in Madrid at the Transvision conference with a lot of our European academic colleagues, and I saw how complex this is becoming, this whole super longevity age reversal, when academia gets involved and gets locked into it. So I want to keep reminding us to coming back to the essentials of what human life is all about, truly, what we're doing here, what is the true purpose of a long life, and how to most vibrantly live it. For me, medicine is poetic essentialism. That's how I kind of look at it. It's minimalist, it's beautiful, and it's healthy, and it's to the point. Let's not complicate it. So let's touch on epigenetics. So we know that up to 30,000 variations from a single inherited gene sequence may be produced at any given instance. Our psychological and biological environment delegates which of these gets expressed in real time. The future human is you+. Higher consciousness, sublime embodiment, which you are all experts in, resonant technology, resonant to super longevity, resonant to health, resonant to bliss. Regenerative genomic expression. Your genes will respond when you give it gorgeous food. Soul food, real food, communitas food, And that's a part of, it's just a quote I took from the book I'm writing, Age Reversal blissDesigned. Everything you experience designs your gene expression, thereby all your flesh. That's clear, yeah? We know that. Unlimited lifespans will happen only once our body is set to flow, bliss, ecstasis, and eros genomic tract. And Augusta talked about eros and thanatos, and we will touch on that. But that's the track we want to be on, and the genetics will follow. So let's touch on flow. As you see here, flow is in yellow. That's kind of the basis of the other three. And flow is an optimal state of consciousness where we feel our best and we perform our best. Now, this is coming from the Flow Genome Project research, and these are fantastic guys: Stephen Kotler, Jamie Whale, and Benson and Mihaly. Who knows how to pronounce his name? He's the father of flow research, and they're all guys, right? And when I read this, I'm like, I don't resonate with perform. I don't need to perform. The feminine frequency in us will speak about it in terms of creation. Okay? That's flow. Create our best. Huh? So perform our best is the masculine frequency of talking about it. Create our best is the feminine frequency in all of us. Yeah, we are both men, women in one body. Yeah? Moment of total absorption, time speeds up or slows down like a freeze frame effect. Mental and physical ability go through the roof, and the brain takes in more information per second, processing it more deeply. Flow is a must in most of the incubators out in Silicon Valley because actually process so much more information. You're able to drop into lateral thinking, innovative states so much easier, and it's really critical for the future of humanity to drop into flow state a lot more deeper and longer. Essentially, it's a state of selflessness, timelessness, richness, effortlessness. STER is the acronym, okay? So just kind of feel for a moment, just drop in for a moment and feel that. You are in the state of selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, richness. Isn't this all we're doing here? Expanding that state? And it's a super healthy state. That's the one. Yeah? Essentially, curiosity goes up. Focus, persistence, selflessness, and autotelic experiences go up. It's a really beautiful state. Now, the regular human will go through 4 stages in the flow cycle. First, there's going to be a struggle phase, then a release phase, a flow phase, and a recovery phase. Now, the struggle phase is full of beta brain waves, and the main hormones kind of rocking it out in our brains and our bodies is cortisol and norepinephrine. It's the 21st century normal. People can get stuck for decades in the struggle phase. Yeah? Yeah. So the point here is to really start to contract that and learn to struggle more efficiently, because the struggle is real, right? It'll come back. Then the release is when Einstein would go out on his boat in the middle of Lake Geneva and just stare at the clouds and soak it in. Yeah, after he's been in the lab all day, and that's where the inspiration begins to. That's where the flow state begins, in the release phase, and there you have a release of nitric oxide. And that is the radiance of that flow state kicking in, yeah? And of course, flow. Now, you can't plan flow. You can plan the struggle better, release well, but flow is up to the gods, they say. So, and there you're going to be kind of flooded with dopamine, endorphins, and anandamide, my favorite molecule of all, ananda, the bliss molecule of the body. We release in deep meditation, in ecstatic states, in the runner's high. That is the molecule to watch. Lab tests will be coming out in the next few years, so you can test your anandamide levels. That's the one to really watch out for. Oxytocin is nice, but anandamide is the real deal. Recovery, delta, serotonin, oxytocin. So absolutely, we need to recover well so that we can get back to that flow cycle. This is classic cycle of regular humanity, yeah? Now, if you're going to be dropping into enlightened humanity, enlightened physicality, what we're talking about here, that may kind of be shifting, and the research will look a little different around this. Let's see what happens. Maybe I'll do that research. Okay, flow triggers. You can have psychological, social, creative, environmental triggers. Essentially, the Flow Genome Project really delineates this really well. What is the best way for you to drop into flow? Is it through painting, music, lovemaking, running, hiking, exercising, speaking on stage? You will identify your flow triggers, and you can maximize your speed at which you drop into flow once you know yourself better. So that's the Flow Research Project. Now I'm kind of expanding it and looking at it in terms of, okay, so let's kind of add some poetry to it, because that's kind of nice, but to me it's not poetic enough. So I kind of began talking about like really looking at flow state from two perspectives, from the feminine frequency and the masculine frequency. And the feminine frequency will experience flow as a receptive state. Yeah, like, you know, you receive the beauty, the inspiration, the awe. And the ecstasis is more kind of the masculine, like you kind of, like it's an outward energy, and you experience is like, oh my God, and you're like surfing or skiing, and you get this exciting feeling, you're penetrating life with your feeling, yeah? So I talk about bliss and this ecstasis as being two flavors of flow, the feminine flavor and the masculine flavor, and both are fantastic and both are interchangeable, and we can experience both, you know, within a couple minutes of each other. Essentially, it is still the optimal state of consciousness where we feel our best and we perform our best, and bliss is a sense of blessedness, a béatitude in French, beauty attitude, yeah? And pleasure and delight and elation, and it's receptive, and it's an inhalation, like that kind of sense. And the ecstasis is more kind of euphoric and more of an exhalation and more rapturous. And think of like the surfers kind of like rocking that wave. That's more of the ecstasis flavor of flow. Bliss is a non-ordinary flow state of consciousness that embodies flow, coupled with a sense of blessedness. It's the feminine frequency, the yin of flow. You're essentially receiving life. And ecstasis, on the other hand, is non-ordinary state of consciousness that embodies flow, coupled with a sense of awe, wonder, and you're essentially penetrating life with that experience. And that's kind of the flavors, yeah, the poetic flavors of flow. So now let's drop into Eros. We talked about Eros with Augusta, and it was fantastic to see that it is the instinct of life, but it's also a very ignitive instinct to get up and live, yeah? And so Eros is very much the same. I began writing a book called The Erotic Soul early this year. It came out of some of the darkest nights of the soul. This year has been full of the darkest moments and the highest moments. It's been one of those years where I had to face some of the darker parts of my life, and the deep yearning and loneliness, and kind of like shed that finally out of my system. I really broke through the matrix this year. Please clap. And I began writing this because this is what got me out. Eros. I'm an incurable romantic. It's who I am. I admit it. Sue me. It's what I'll always be. And that's my flavor to bring to all of us, and to really uphold that in you, because it's a really beautiful way of experiencing our long lives. So, The Erotic Soul, Woman, a Genuine Metaphysics. And this book is essentially it's a string of poetry and short essays and whatever comes. Really, I don't have any rules for my books. They're just like, whatever comes, I write it. And one of the books nabs it. I have 4 books in the middle of writing. This is a poem from that book, and essentially it exemplifies the feeling of Eros and erotic soul of the woman. I must, it's all I heard, a voice inside me pulling at my heartstrings, yearning my womb, spreading my limbs. Creation is otherworldly, an ingenious, emergent property of life, essentially yearning to live itself, seeking itself. It almost matters not what it is seeking. The juice of this entire design is in the pull, the yearning, the cosmic necessity of it all. There is a cosmic necessity in us to live. It's the greatest muse. Necessity is the greatest muse. And when we wake up to it, wow, right? This is the solar fuel. Eros. Eros has been given a bad name in, culture and religion and so on. I mean, those times are over, right? We are very loving of Eros now. And what I argue is that, the Cupid right there, the picture of the Cupid kind of coming in and at the door of Psyche and coming to see his beloved and so on, I kind of realized that it's not the arrow that's really important for the Cupid, it's his wings, those waking whips of arousal, right? So Eros wakes you up. It doesn't penetrate you, wakes you to be who you are. And we see this on the stage here every day. It's fabulous. And so some of this work is coming down the pipe, and this is Medicine 101, yeah? Yeah. Okay. So bliss and ecstasis and the arrow creative, the future human will embody these non-ordinary states of consciousness, not as mere fleeting states of today, but as long-lasting traits. This will become the new normal. And at the end, you will see the transhumanist philosopher David Pearce agrees with me. There's three spectra that I work with patients and clients or whoever I speak to. Essentially the physical spectrum of the human, the metaphysical spectrum of the human, and the erotic spectrum of the human. We're traveling these spectra in our lives, and ideally we want to be moving towards regenerative physicality, freedom, healthy metaphysicality, away from the wounded, the broken. Yeah, we're all wounded and broken, like, right? Yeah, give me a yeah. Yeah, okay, no. We're moving towards freedom and healthy area of the spectrum, and the erotic, from the numbness and the thanatos to the bliss, ecstasis, and eros frequencies, and we are traveling at the speed of light that way. Yeah? Physical, you know this. I mean, this is, you guys are experts in this. I don't need to go into the details, but what is degenerative and what is regenerative is very clear for us now, and it's becoming clearer and clearer and clearer. And we're very lucky to have world-class, top experts showing us the latest research in this. What I want to add to it is you sensing you. You sensing you. I talk about this in my blissDesigned salons, and basically what I talk about, there are about 24 cosmic movements of the blissDesigned human, and one of them is you loving you. That's number one. Without it, you can't have bliss. Yeah, right? Then you knowing you, you freeing you, you aligning you, you igniting you. And in the blissDesigned body salon, I begin with you sensing you. We're so in our heads, the 21st century normal human, that we have not learned to sense our bodies. And that's what's amazing about this group, is that you guys are working on this all the time. Here is some kind of vocabulary we can begin to use around the senses of our body. This is something that we're not used to using, but it might actually be really critical. If any of you guys have had homeopathic intakes by a senses-focused homeopath, you'll see that homeopathic remedies work at the level of the senses, and that's why they're so precise and so effective when prescribed correctly. So we're touching on medical intuition, medical qigong here, and that's what you can essentially become your own medical intuitive. Yeah. Human metaphysical, we're traveling from wounded frequencies towards healthy and freedom frequencies in our lives. And this is a chart I use in my blissDesigned salon, really delineating the... I don't know how to use this pointer. Huh? Oh, there. Delineating the frequency between yin and yang in our bodies and the wounded and healthy frequencies, yeah? So essentially, a healthy yin will allow you to be more receiving, more allowing, more desirous, more inviting, more open. And a healthy yang in you will be more giving, will show up, will be aware, will be of service, will be trusting, right? You'll be more trusting when you have a healthy yang frequency, when you haven't been all broken up. Now, the world is full of broken, wounded, masculine energies. Look at that, right? And feminine energies also, the unworth and the shrinking, right? I mean, I do it too sometimes. And I'm like, really? I shrink as well? But anyway, we all have wounded frequencies that come in and out. And that's what we're working to kind of, erase, cut the cord, as Bernie says, cut them out. From this line down, cut, out. And essentially, at the worst, we are seeing broken feminine as a filling in an addiction and a pull to thanatos. And at the broken end of the masculine, we're seeing dissolving, and that's why wars happen. There is this pull to annihilation when you're in that much pain. Yeah? And that's why we are destroying our planet. There's this pull to annihilation, and there is pull to addiction and filling endlessly, and that's why we have that crazy materialistic culture as well. So we don't want anything, under this line to be continuing. Just keep neutralizing all of these. Let them go. Cut the cord. Woo! We want to be moving towards love and peace and eros. So this sign right here is similar to People Unlimited, right? Have you noticed? Yeah, I designed this years ago as a kind of indication of how we come in and out of density, how we can come in and out of enlightenment constantly, and it's a constant work in progress, and it's a spiral upwards, yeah? It's a spiral. And essentially, the metaphysical states, the most ideal, are the ones that are the ongoing non-symbolic experience, the enlightenment, the non-dual consciousness, awakening, self-transcendent unity consciousness. One researcher to watch, Jeffrey Martin, he's fantastic. He's doing amazing research in this, and he's really speeding up the way we are getting into these states. The erotic, we're moving from the numbness, the survival, the maintenance consciousness, the status quo, the thanatos, yuck, flatland, right? No, not for us. We're moving towards bliss, ecstasis, the creative, and essentially these are the frequencies of the future human. That's us plus, yeah? The sensual, the exquisite, the alive, illuminating, appetizing, piquant, whatever you want to call it, and erotic, intelligent, free, transformational, and deeply loving and present. Yeah. The future is not what it used to be, but neither is the present, huh? Yeah. We are redefining the way we are experiencing the present, and I see that every single day here, and I'm so thankful. I want to drop to my knees and kiss the ground, hearing what I hear here. I'm writing a book, the fourth book. It's a series of essays, and it's a book I started this year on just putting down my thoughts about immortality. And there's pull in academia not to speak the word immortality, right? That's kind of we've been advised not to use it in the academic circles because it freaks people out. But I need a place to deposit all this yearning, right? So I'm so glad also to be here and being able to communicate it with you guys. One of the greatest experiences I had this year is meeting David Pearce in Madrid. He is a transhumanist philosopher out of England. Who knows David? Oh my God, look him up. He is a genius. Yeah, is he special or what? Huh. Wow, Bliss 101 and futurism as well. So I had a chance, I went to a party at Jose's opening in Madrid, and suddenly I ended up walking home with this guy. I didn't think much of him, and we started talking. He said, yeah, you know, I do philosophy, I don't know, David Pierce. I didn't know who David Pierce was. And then he started talking about gradients of super intelligent bliss. And I was like, what? I almost dropped to my knees. It was raining. I was like, I want to know you. And I got in touch with some of his work, the Hedonistic Imperative, online. And it is brilliant. It is about how humanity will be eradicating the future of suffering, and that the new normal of the human will be where we are at our highest right now. Okay? So, full permission to go all bliss on everyone, yeah? Woo! So, have a read of this afterwards. We don't have that much more time, but look up his hedonistic imperative online and any of his talks. He will floor you. He will give you full permission to be so freaking happy. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sublime and all-pervasive happiness. Yalla. So here's the end. Now, as you know, I'm a poet. I'm kind of naughty, too. So this is this poem I wrote when I was here the first day. I write minimalist stuff. I don't overdo it because I think the simpler, the better. Ensouled flesh, emptying mind, that is the work of being human, yeah? And that's what we are doing here, really activating the flesh to be the true spiritual force in our lives and emptying the mind. The mind is the trouble in the world, yeah? So let's kind of rein it in, empty our bodies of it, and really drop into opening our hearts and really start manifesting from the womb frequencies, from the hara, the Japanese hara, yeah? That's where the true force lies. And when I hear people speak, they speak from here, not here. Yeah? What I have found in my work is that a lot of childhood yearnings, and still our child lives in the heart. So the heart is sometimes confused. But when you drop into the womb, when you drop into the hara, the warrior frequencies, there's no child left down here. Yeah, it's all rockin' warriors and goddesses, yeah? And finally, only the high get lucid. So let's get high! Woo! Thank you so much. Are there any questions? I would love to leave lots of time for expressions, so feel free to talk to me at any time about any of this. This is only the beginning.
Denise, that you referenced that flow, and those people who are doing flow research. Can you just tell us more about what that is? I mean, is it, when you say research, is it just, what is it?
Oh yeah. So it's a whole entire network of research projects from Oxford, from Deloitte. You know, they're all studying flow and creativity, flow in business, flow in sports. Essentially, how to drop into the flow state most efficiently, how to maintain it, how to struggle better, recover better. Yeah, so Flow Genome Project has all of the listing of all the research projects happening around the world. Yeah, it's Jamie Wheel, look him up. He's one of my favorite intellectuals online. He is fantastic, and he's one of the leaders of the flow research. Yes, anyone else?
Yeah, actually, on the flow stuff, because I've heard people talk about flow state, and I think it's very interesting. So this is like the first time I've actually heard somebody talk about like the science behind that. And you mentioned Oxford, all that stuff. So what exactly? And you said genome in it. Are they actually? Yeah.
They have a test of 16 markers, SNPs, showing you your genomic kind of robustness towards flow. But they call it Flow Genome Project, but it's not a genomic kind of a. It's essentially really looking at MRI studies, blood studies. They kind of test the main biomarkers of super athletes, creatives, businessmen. Is
it something that like people can get coached into, like getting into flow state?
Yeah. Flow Genome Project has a great foundations course. I took it a couple years ago. It's fantastic. It just teaches you to know yourself, how you particularly get into the flow state, how to drop in there more efficiently, and how to recognize it.
Right.
How to know when you're in the struggle phase. When you're really struggling, just know it's just the struggle phase and move on, yeah? And how to get into the release phase, how to recover better. The flow piece is kind of up to the gods, as they say, but you can do a lot around there to maximize. And essentially, you could put a sticker on your door saying, I'm in the flow. Don't bother me. So yeah, Flow Genome Project are the guys. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. You're a great speaker. So you mentioned just to Steve there about that course, but do you have daily practices that you do that you could speak to quickly that help you in this, that you find, get you in that flow, like just daily activities you do or weekly activities?
Oh, great question. When I was doing my online live salons, I was following pretty much the program that my clients were, and it was essentially about really dropping into practices around you loving you, you knowing you freeing you, those kind of sovereign-based activities that we have to take into our own hands to drop into these states. And being really aware of when you're in struggle, that's really critical, because that's what gets you most stuck in the 21st century normal hyperfrontality. So, look, I spent many years in Asia studying meditation and vipassana and so on. And one of the greatest things that Lama taught me is to be able to drop into meditation instantaneously, that I don't have to sit for minutes, drop in instantly at any moment as soon as you shine the light of awareness deep inside of you, right? Instead of getting distracted around. So I never really personally felt like I needed to create specific structured program for me, because I know how to drop in very quickly when I need to. And I am not a structured person in general, so I don't get up and meditate for an hour and da-da-da, no. Good question. But essentially, I did follow when I was running the salons exactly what the program was. I would say nothing in particular that I can say. I just drop in, boom, it's there. In an instant. Yeah. And that's kind of, I think, yeah.
Denise, I loved everything you said. I want to know everything about you. I want to study with you. I want to know your whole life story. So to put it in a thumbnail sentence, who were your favorite teachers, and do you have online courses, and what is the best program you offer that is affordable?
Oh, that is so sweet. Thank you. My favorite teachers were always my intuitive downloads. I don't know. I mean, I have a degree in biology and philosophy, so I studied all the philosophers, then a degree in psychology, so I studied the main psychologists. But there's a poem I have written that, I don't read books anymore because I can't keep my eyes open because what's inside is so freaking fascinating. Right? So I kind of like make it all up in a way. And it all makes sense. People love it. Like, really, like women especially. I really niched my work online with women because online you have to kind of niche and, be particular to a certain audience. So I really began focusing on women because I know my girls. Gentlemen, I don't know you as well. You're a mystery to me. No, but so salons, blissDesigned salons. blissDesigned.com is my website. I run salons. I have coaching programs. I will be coming back into doing a lot more age reversal medicine as well. And, absolutely, like what I really want to say is any of my online courses, you guys are my family, so you would always get my family rate. That's 50% off. Like whatever, yeah, totally. You guys are my family. So reinvest it back into your super longevity. Absolutely. So blissDesigned.com, and I also have the U Plus program that's on my main page, denisarensen.com. Thank you for asking. And I will be informing you, absolutely, like hopefully I'll be living here and we'll be creating together. Yeah. Woo!
You on? Are you on? Yes, now you're on. That was the best idea, the last one. I like it. Denisa, you're such a colorful person with such profound professional roots in different areas. I mean, you're a medical doctor, you have roots in psychology, in philosophy, in poetry, and also a highly awake intuition. I loved your presentation. I have a question about this flow thing, because it triggered me like similar to you. There's this guy whose name I cannot pronounce either, Michael Csikszentmihalyi, and he is one of the leading founders of positive psychology, one of the 4 leading founders. And that is as a bigger area, they all focus on what works in our body, in our nervous system, in our psyche, and bring it all together. And it's positive psychology because they define character, they define attitude, they define gratitude, not just what's wrong with us, they define what's right with us. And I think I'm so happy to draw from this background as well, because that leads to my question. And the question is, everything you present is very positive and overcoming negativity in us, similar to the presentation we heard yesterday from the other side. One thing you practice living with me is gratitude. And that is a very powerful thing to do for me as well, and for you. What does gratitude play what importance does it have in your work? The profound feeling of gratitude.
Ah, that's a beautiful question. Wow. Great question. I feel like I spent 7 years in Japan. So that changed me profoundly. And I knew it was going to, because I was living in Prague. I was doing a lot of painting in Prague. And then I went to a painting exhibition, and I walked into an exhibition on Kyoto. And I was like, oh my God, this is my home. I felt my soul like at home in this exhibition. Prague and Kyoto are cultural sister cities. So in a month, I packed up and I was in Kyoto. And living in Japan really humbled me. I was kind of spinning before that. I was kind of an ecstatic. I was like passionate. I was doing everything. And then coming to Kyoto centered me. And one of the things that the Japanese culture really instilled in me is this sense of daily gratitude, the recognition of all the effort that life is making to uphold you, whether it's humans or the technology or someone baked your bread. Like that is just like, it's just, oh my God. Thank you for upholding me. Am I worthy? So there is a little bit of that kind of like, I had to work through that a little bit of over gratitude and kind of minimalizing myself around it as well. But now I have this deep sense of gratitude and a trust that somehow the life force in my body, in the universe, is upholding me. It's somehow given me the life to live, and it's really humbling. It's really, wow. I get to do all this. So I think it's coming from that sense of trust and gratitude from being given life and being able to do all this. So then when I see you guys making such amazing effort to uphold us, I'm like so floored. I want to like drop to my knees and kiss the ground, right? Yeah, and that's kind of how I function. I do not have a strong ego in general. It kind of got knocked out of me in Japan pretty good. Yeah. So, and I was married to a amazing Japanese man for 15 years, super, super humble, super samurai style. So I learned a lot. And he really guided me away from kind of going off into self-referential thinking. Yeah. Almost too much sometimes. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's gratitude is, wow, it's a superpower, isn't it? Oh yeah. Oh, totally. And you will see that when you come visit in Japan at the Rat Fest next year. Please come. I'll be there. Let's rock it out together. I can show you everything. We'll be there. Yeah! Woo! I'm so excited. So excited. And you know, the Japanese, when they will come into this discussion, they're going to change it. They're going to really refine it. They're a very beautiful culture, really powerful, technologically advanced, but they have the soul of a monk. And it's very beautiful. Mm.
Okay, we've got one question here, and then Mariana, and then we'll be complete.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to offer the masculine viewpoint for your elucidation. As you were saying that you can't figure guys out, I'll tell you very quickly. The feminine receptivity receives, of course, and there's an aspect to the masculine that just cuts through. That you know, it brings it to an end. I'm just going to throw that out there for our whatever. So the question that I have, and what really works for me, being with People Unlimited, is this aspect of looking at everything that I've ever learned in my whole entire life, because I'm an info junkie, and letting all of it go. Because it doesn't really have anything to do with what I can apply to myself. As you know what I'm saying? Going external, bringing something in. I think this is the disease of our modern time, is that we're all giving ourselves over to experts all of the time and blah, 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 blah. And and that sounds kind of funny, because I'm considering you to be an expert on these things you're talking about. They're moving to me. So to what extent do you actually work with the people that come to you, that you can enable them to just drop into their own soul and just know what they know without having to, you know, go into all of the minutia of information? You know, there's a direction of wisdom there that I feel that I think you know about, but I haven't heard you say how that happens for the people that come to you. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Great question. Thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely. The cut-through energy is quite precise. It's critical. It's something that Bernie talked about the other day when she said, cut the cord. That was pure masculine warrior energy in this fabulous feminine woman, right? So we all have this. I'm hyper masculine, absolutely. You know, so we refine these best qualities of the feminine goddess and the masculine warrior, and we go for it. So thank you, yeah. When I began working with blissDesigned, the first thing I did, I don't know why I did it, but I did it. I created what's called the Dictionary of Obscure Bliss. Because what I found this guy out of Amsterdam that wrote 145 words, the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrow, right? And they were fantastic words, you know, I can't tell you. Like, look it up, Dictionary of Obscure Sorrow. Read the words and you'll recognize them all. We know our pain and our sorrow so well. We've been bathing in it most of our lives, right? So humanity, especially when patients or clients come to you, the first thing I do is scan for all the sorrow. That's easy to spot. That's the first thing, right? That's the easiest thing to do. And of course, really working very hard on, you know, neutralizing all those frequencies in the human. There's so many ways to do it. I mean, Arnaud, is it? Arnaud. talked about it yesterday, and many ways. So that's the first thing that happens. I mean, people come in with 80% of negative baggage, even if they're really healthy and enlightened. They come to you and they unload all of that which is still paining them, all the pain. Yeah. So that's, 80% of a physician's job, 80% of a coach's job, isn't it, guys? How many coaches are here, right? Yeah. I mean, are we not doing that mainly most of our time? Yeah. So, and then, of course, then really maximizing the frequencies above the wounded state. And really, when you go back and look at that chart, it'll be really key of seeing even how you do business. Instead of doing it from a wounded masculine frequency family of frequencies, you shift into enlightened masculine, and you begin to uphold, and you begin to... people get it very quickly. People are intelligent. Like, you shine a light on it and it's there. It's so natural. So most of it is just illuminating the dark spots. That's it. That's medicine. Illumination, essentially.
Hi. Hey, Denise. So a quick comment and a question. Otto, on gratitude, there was this study that just came out like maybe 2 weeks ago from some neuroscientists. They were saying that gratitude, it's not recognized as a, sentiment or emotion that affects the brain and neuroplasticity the most. So they see how gratitude is just the most effective thing that you can do for your neuroplasticity, proven by labs. My question was, you speak a lot about feminine and masculine, and I see both. And I was wondering about androgynous and this whole feeling, because I have a feeling that as we move into the future, we'll be more integrated, in that sense that we won't be just feminine. Oh, let me switch to be a powerful male energy kind of thing. So I was wondering about what you feel about this going into the future, not so much as feminine and masculine.
Yeah, I illustrate that only as a spectrum. Yeah. I do not feel that we are masculine or feminine. I am both man, woman, child, old woman, all in one, absolutely. So that was just illustrating a spectrum. We live in this dual metaphysics in this particular time in human evolution. So we kind of have to ground ourselves somewhere. Once you understand the spectrum, then the spectrum kind of just dissolves, right? So yeah, absolutely. About refining the best, the most loving, the most present qualities of the masculine and feminine, the yin and the yang. I could have just left out the masculine and feminine, just yin and yang, and kind of left it there, because life is kind of traveling between these forces. Beautiful answer. I would encourage my children, anyone, to really cultivate all of these frequencies, the entire spectrum, the full spectrum human. Absolutely. Just, get away from the wounded frequencies. That's just not helping the world at all, and not helping you, and it's killing you. So basically up and across. And of course then, it would be a 3D model, 4D, 5D, 6D model if we really got really fancy around it. But yeah, it's just a heuristic to kind of situate us, realizing where we are in healthy masculine, healthy feminine, yin and yang frequencies, and that's about it. But is there anything did I leave out something? No, yeah. What I want to say is, one of the things last thing I want to say is Max Moore. We all know Max Moore, yeah? Yeah, Natasha's husband. He spoke at a conference with Francesca Ferrando. Francesca Ferrando is a post-human philosopher out of New York University. She's an amazing woman. I got to interview her for my Future Femme podcast. And we became good friends in New York. I went to her conferences. We went out. We had a great time. And she's a amazing woman. I'm sure you will all get to meet her at some point, because I'm going to bring her here. She is a genius, and she's so loving and so present and so relevant. I mean, so human, like a human academic. Like, those are rare. Look her up, Francesca Ferrando, Italian, out of Italy. And they were discussing post-humanism and transhumanism. And one of the things that Max More really accentuated, which was really so important for all of us to remember, is that the true trait of the transhuman and the future human is hyperagency, meaning sovereignty, meaning all of this is in your hands. All of this is in your hands. And we are together, all of us as hyper-agent sovereign men and women and children, rock and roll. Woo! Thank you.